Hey everyone, Josh here from Fresh Start Customs, and today we're going to be going over the Boombox design. This is one of the biggest designs that I've made, so I wanted to make a video showing you guys how to put it together and some of my thought process behind it here, and some things that you may be able to edit, especially if you don't want to actually use the cassette. I built it around the cassette because I thought it'd be kind of a cool design to be able to drop a cassette in there. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started over items that you're going to need. First off, you will want a digital caliper. You'll always want this for any 3D design. The reason why is material thickness can vary. My material is the proof grade material from Glowforge. Measures out to be 0.137 inches with masking tape on both sides. I always do it with masking tape on both sides, that way it comes out clear. And clear looking like this with no burn marks. Second thing you're going to need is a rubber tip hammer, something like this. It can be any rubber tip hammer that's not really hard, it just has to be soft tipped there. That's just for putting the joints together because this is a tight fit design. And then lastly, we're going to need some glue here. I use Tight Bond translucent glue. That way if you get any extra spillover, it dries clear, and then you can kind of scrape it up with a toothpick if you need to. This stuff is really awesome. And then you may want some paper towels as well, just standard paper towels to wipe off the glue from your hands. And then one other beneficial item is duct tape to remove the masking tape from your wood. As you can tell here, I've already pre-masked all this, or pre-unmasked all this, I should say. And I went ahead and assembled the top buttons here, except for this one. Just to save some time in the videos. I assume by now, if you watched any of my other videos, you know how to assemble a box. But we're going to assemble this play button here first, and then we're going to assemble the rest. Right now, as you can see, I'm really zoomed out as far as I can get. I'm going to go ahead and change the camera angle here, and we're going to do each step one at a time. That way you get a better, closer look at these. So let me go ahead and change the camera angle. We'll go ahead and get started on this play button, and then we'll go step by step on which way that I'm going to assemble it for my first time, and then you can go and play off of that and see which way you would like to assemble it too. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll see you there. Alright everyone, so as you can see, we're going to go ahead and build this little play button here. Hopefully you can see this as clear as possible. I went ahead and changed the camera angle for you guys to make it better here. We're going to make this play button. It's just like all these other buttons. All these buttons will fit in the place of each other. So if you don't like the order that I do it, you can go ahead and change the order. Right here is the order that I did it. That play button is going to go right here on this left side. But like I said, you can change these out. You can even get rid of the text, put your own text and font there. The fonts are not included, so you'll have to add your own fonts. But you can actually change all those up. So let's go ahead and get started. This is just a basic box. We're going to build this really quick, and I'll fast forward. But basically, you got to make sure these small parts like this. Let me go ahead and clear that up. These small parts are going to be on the sides first, and then you're going to go ahead and you're always going to build off of that. Alright, so as you guys can see, I got the play button built here. I just tapped around the edges and around the tops, and like I said, I built off of this one edge. And what I mean by building off of it, you'll lay the next piece flat just like I did, and then you'll hit from the top of those two edges. That way you don't crack this as easily. These are delicate parts. These are very thin grooves and thin edges here, so just a heads up on that. You want to be careful, and you want to let the weight of the hammer do the tapping for you. If you have to, you can tap, you can apply a little force to the hammer, but don't do it very hard. Obviously, you don't want to smash that and crack it. Same thing applies here. You want to ensure that this is flat on the table before you pound this in. It's going to look like it doesn't fit in there, but it is a tight fit. So some of the joints are a little off-centered on purpose. That way it sucks in and grabs a hold of that wood. So we're going to just tap this in. And then you'll notice that it grabs in and it starts to sink in. And you're going to just do all four corners until it sinks in. And there you go, just like that. I just worked my way around in a circle. I didn't just smash one side in, because if you smash one side in, then it's not going to go in even here, and it's going to cause pressure on the back here, and it may crack the back end. So if you ever have like cracking on the back end, it might be because you don't have the material flat, or you just smashed one side in without smashing the other end evenly. So you got to do it in an even pattern. But there you go. That is exactly what you'll do. You'll just repeat that for all of the buttons, and you've got the top assembled. You want to do this first, because once you have the other thing assembled, hitting this is just going to cause these to bounce up and down and not go in very well. So do this first. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to do the insides. As you can see, I've kind of pre-assembled this. This is just 3 sides. It's kind of loose on its own. It kind of hinges back and forth. So what we're going to do, the reason why I didn't put the other side on yet, what this is actually going to be, this is going to go into the actual inside of the boombox itself, and then the cassette player is going to fit into here. So you want to make sure these 2 grooves are on the bottom front side. So this is going to be the bottom front side of the boombox. That's going to go into the 2 slots in the front of the boombox. That's the reason why there's 2 slots here, so you can tell which side is which. So once you assemble these 3, just like that other box, you're going to want to stand it up like this, and then your inside piece that's going to be inside of this box, you're going to make sure there's a little bit more on this bottom half than there is on the top half of these 2 grooves. The reason why is when your actual cassette sits in there, it's going to line up with those inside grooves. I know you probably can't see it on camera, but it lines up with these 2 grooves here, kind of like the spindles that play the cassette player. So just make sure this goes to the bottom of these two tabs here, and you're going to just line it up to this slot, and then you're going to just hammer it into place really quick. There we go. So now that you got that, obviously it's still going to be loose on the sides until you get this last piece in here. And even then, it's still going to be slightly loose until you get this whole unit into this back piece. And we're going to go ahead and show you that in just a second. So let me get this top on here. There you go. As you can see, it's a lot more tight now that you have 2 grooves holding it in. Depending on your material thickness, it may be looser or tighter. Like I said, you're going to want to use that digital caliper on any 3D design, and you may have to slightly adjust the tabs. But right here, it looks like just about perfect. And as you can tell, this bigger side, like I said, is right on the bottom edge of these 2 tabs that are going to be up front. So these 2 tabs are going to come out towards you when the box is assembled. So we're going to set that down, and then we're going to grab this back piece here, and we're going to put this on next. So you'll have this back piece here. As you can see, it's got the little up arrow, so you're going to make sure that's pointing up away from you, and you're going to flip it over so there's no arrow at all, and make sure that arrow is pointing that way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this box, and we're going to line it up with these tabs, and we're going to hammer it into place, and that's going to lock it in there. It's going to make it a lot more stable. It's already pretty stable, but that's going to lock it into place. There we go. So as you can see, we got that in place now. This is going to be the inside of your boombox here. Obviously, I didn't make this to actually play music out of, but this is just for decor. And then that cassette is later going to be able to just go like this, and then just sit in there just like that. That's what we're going for here. Obviously, since this is my first test doing this, I haven't been able to test the actual slot itself once it's in there. So we're going to be doing that in just a second. And then the reason why these 2 tabs here is exactly what just happened there. When I put too much pressure or too much weight on there, this fell forward. So once you get it in on the front, that's going to hold that, and it's going to prevent that from coming out. So let's go ahead, and we're going to put on the sides in the top and bottom. And then after you put the sides and top and bottom on, the very last piece is going to be your top piece. But when we get to the top piece, we're going to have to glue some stuff before we put it on here. So let's go ahead and we'll go to the bottom edge here first. So let me grab the bottom edge here. And we're just going to take that and line it up just like this here. There we go. So as you may be able to see, I got a nice gap there because I didn't take the time to look over top of this because I didn't want my head to be in the camera here. But you'll want to line that up before you smash it down. It's just easier. If you don't, just like I did, no big deal. All you got to do is flip it on this side, which I do anyways, and then you just hammer out the rest of that from the top here. And then you'll just do that back and forth until it's nice and flush. There we go. And then even if you have to, you can flip it this way and hit from this edge. You just want to be careful that you hit from the edges only. There we go. So we've got that. As you can see here, there's not really a gap there anymore. So that's perfect. That's what we want. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do just like those smaller boxes where we flip it and then we build off of this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this side right here. We're going to lay it flat just like this. And then we're going to tilt this and build off of this side just like I said before on that smaller box. You're going to line up all the tabs right on the edges here. And then you may be able to apply a little bit of force to get it to snug in there. If you can't, you will need the rubber tip hammer still. That's no big deal. And then you just hit from the top side. So I'm going to take my hammer up here. It's off camera, but you're going to hit the top edge just like you did on the other box. There we go. So now I'm going to just flip these, tighten them up a little bit before we build on the next edge here. There we go. So now we're going to grab the next edge here. I'm going to actually flip and do the other side first. I'm going to build off the bottom on this side. The reason why is the top's going to go on lastly here. If I had to do it again, I'd probably build off of the top first. So that was something that I should have thought of. Is if I would have done the top first, then I wouldn't have had to lay that flat on the table. So I'm going to attempt to do this side first, and then we'll get the top one. Top may be a little bit difficult since it's got the buttons in the way. So if you're going to do it, I'd probably do it the other way, put the top one first, and then build off of that. But this is what we're working with here. So we're going to go from there. There we go. So now we're going to attempt the top here. Not sure the best way to go about it here. I'm going to try from the top edges here because I don't want to lay it flat and then snap this on accident. So I would probably, like I said, start with the top first and then build off of that. So you can hit it from the top edge here. But I'm going to try and line it up, and we're going to try and hit the edges here as best as we can, and then we'll go from there. Now, as you can see, if you did do the other side first, you can see I left this nice and loose. I just barely tapped it in all the way around. I know it's probably hard to see. You can see it pretty good right there. I left this nice and loose, but I just made it where it partially sucked in just so I can tap all these in evenly. Like I said earlier, you want to make sure you tap in everything even, because if you smash one side and then not the other, then it's not going to go in there even. It's going to try and warp, and then that may cause a crack. So I'm going to go ahead and tap in the rest here. There we go. So that worked out really good. I got nice tighter joints. I'm going to flip this over and hit it this way a little bit because it's a little loose this way. Just like I did earlier too. Just tighten up those joints. Now the hard part is I'm probably going to want to flip it this way since this sticks out just slightly here. So we're going to hit it this way down. There we go. So now we got it nice and tight all the way around. We are almost finished here. So we're finished with the actual top and the inside here. I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side, and we're going to move up to the actual front of this. The front's going to be kind of cool, but you do need to use glue for the front. The reason why I say it's kind of cool is kind of some 3D parts here. So I got all my little parts that we're going to be gluing together here. And the cool part is this is going to be your actual tuner for your radio. So where the little gauge goes across here. Obviously, since it's made of wood, I can't make the gauge go across. So I just made this little fake gauge right here. So it's always going to be stuck on one channel. So in that case, those records, you're only going to have one radio station. Sorry about that, but it's going to look really awesome here. So what we're going to do, as you can see, I've got this score line all the way around this tuner. You're going to glue on the outside edges right here of this score line, and that is going to sit right behind here, just like that. And as you can see, that needle is stuck on that one station that I told you about. And then these two slots, like I mentioned earlier, are going to go right on these two slots right here to hold that weight that I was talking about earlier. So everything's going to hold perfectly right in there. And then the cassette itself, and what I hope is going to work, and I would assume that I did because I measured it all out, you're just going to be able to drop that cassette like this and it'll pop in there. And it's just going to sit in there. So there's not going to be actual glass here. The reason why I did that, that's just a lot of work, and you would have you'd have to find a way to do a hinge in there, and I couldn't figure that out. So I think it's going to be pretty awesome just being able to plop it in there like that. So let me go ahead, I'll glue all these parts. As you can see, that one's going to be glued behind. And then this one's going to glue over top of those slots. We're going to cover those slots up after we put this on. So this is going to be the very last piece you put on, because you're going to be covering that slot after you get the slots lined up. So this will be the very, very end piece here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use these, and you can decide whether you want the tuner on the right or the left, and vice versa with the volume. I'm going to go ahead and put my tuner on the left and the volume on the right, and then just glue those into place just like that. And then that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and glue these. Fast forward to whenever I'm done gluing, and then I'll show you me putting it on top. We'll glue that last piece on, and we'll be good from there. Alright, so as you guys can see, I've got this nice and glued here. It's probably going to take a little bit to dry, so I'll wait for this to dry a little bit before we go ahead and start pounding this onto the top here so nothing falls off. As you can see, I use my finger to spread all that glue out. I know it gets messy on your hands and on your fingers. You mix that with the wood when you peel the tape off, it's going to get your hands nice and messy. But I find that a good way to actually activate the glue. That way it starts getting real sticky before you even put it on there. Then it helps apply it quickly and dries quicker, especially with this type of glue. If you just put it on and then you don't activate it with like your finger, it takes a long time to dry. But if you activate it like that, it goes pretty quick. This is probably, yeah, this is already getting pretty dry here. I can barely even move it. It doesn't even budge really with my thumbs here. But I'm going to let it dry for maybe like 2 to 3 minutes. It shouldn't even take longer than that. And then we'll go ahead and be back, and we'll put the rest on, and then we'll glue this last Fresh Start Customs piece on here. Then we'll be good to go. And one other thing before I do go with it while we're waiting here is I didn't show the assembly of this because I will be including a PDF of the assembly of this as well. This was a previous design. I'm including it with this design since it's based on this one. All you really have to do is print off the 4 pieces, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece, and then you just glue them back to back and line up all these holes and line up these 2 holes, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Print this off, glue it together, and boom, you have a nice cassette player or cassette tape. And then we're going to make the player here. So this is almost dry. Let's wait and finish that up in just a minute here. Alright you guys, so as you can see, I've got this glued on here. It may be a little wet still, but I'm going to go ahead and try and do this anyways. So if this piece falls off in the process, since it may be wet still, just a heads up on that. But I'm going to go ahead and try it here. But you will want to let yours get nice and dry completely before you go ahead and do this, just to prevent that from falling off. So let's go ahead and get started here. And we'll go ahead and put this on and line up all the tabs. This is going to be probably the trickiest part of this entire build here, is lining up all your tabs and getting it into place. So what I recommend doing is lining it up and kind of pushing right there a little bit, and then get it started with your hammer. Just like that. So I didn't go all the way deep. I just went partially, about halfway into these grooves here. That way it holds it into place. Now I'm going to tap in a circular motion around this entire thing, and I'm going to tap evenly. I'm not going to just tap one side and then tap the other side in because of that bowing effect that I've told you before. So I'm going to just start and then work my way around in a circular motion. There you guys have it. That is the entire boombox here. We got that assembled. I'm going to go ahead and hit around the edges here, make it a little bit tighter. There we go. As you can see, I went back to the center to pound that the rest of the way in. I forgot to pound that down, but now it's nice and flush. And now all we got to do is glue this top piece on to cover up those little tabs like that. And then we'll be good to go. And then at that point, you got your cassette player. You should be able to take it like this, slide it in perfectly, just like that. There's a little bit of a give in here. That's just so you can get it out. The only way you're gonna really get it out is if you grab right there and then lift up like this, and then pull up and out at the same time. So it's a little bit tricky. It's really tight. You're just gonna have to pull up and then out like this. Okay? And then you go back in, and then it just kind of clicks in there. And that's going to just float in there. Like I said before, that's just literally meant to float in there. There's no glass, so it does float, but it won't fall out. It'll go up to this point, and then you can just grab the edges like this, and then pull it straight out, just like you would when you eject an actual cassette. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and save you the boring gluing part of this, so you don't have to wait another 5 to 10 minutes here for gluing. But that's pretty much it. That is the entire process there. That is the entire boombox. So I am super happy with how this turned out. This was an awesome project. It took quite a while to design this and assemble. Well, not assemble, but print it. And then assembly took as long as this video took, as you could see in person here. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy the project. This is probably one of my most premium big designs that I have out there, so I really appreciate it if you did end up purchasing this design and supporting both my shop and my YouTube channel and my page. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll go ahead and get some close-up shots of this at the end, just like I usually do, and we'll catch you guys next time.